John, the latest OCR?
Well, we had the 0.25% cut last month. It was the second one from the month before, and the two that were corrected that should never have been done in the same 2 months last year. So we're back now at the 3% level, and I reckon there's more downside. I think there's a clear trend that we're going to have to respond. We've seen a bit of doom and gloom around the economy now, so more cuts to come in my view.
So that's interest rates coming down?
That's interest rates coming down.
Which is a good thing as far as people like dairy farmers.
Well, if you've got lots of debt, it's a very good thing. But if you've got deposits in the bank, probably not so good. But certainly from the general tenor of the world, I think to some extent a fall in OCR is hostage to what's going on in the rest of the economy now.
You wouldn't want a whole lot of money in a savings account.
Well, that's right, exactly. But you wouldn't want a whole lot of debt either. So
let's talk dairying, because that affects everybody.
Well, we've seen dairy. We saw Friday 385 is now the payout forecast, and there's probably downside on that. And so things are pretty tough right now. And so we go back to the conversation I think we had in January. It's pull the belt in, save where you can, and really focus on the cost side of the business.
Because there will be some who will actually be lost.
Oh, there's at the extreme and in the margin, there'll some who will not be able to stand up to the pressure. But the sooner you recognise that, the sooner you get onto it, the better. You remember we talked about selling toys?
Yes.
And I said if you've got toys, sell them early, because you don't want to be selling them when everybody else is.
So that's the jet boat.
That's all of those things. You know, it is. You need to be in the market before everybody else is. Otherwise, price will fall.
Well, the other thing is, you know, you're looking at selling stock, and the prices of stock's coming down like a duck.
And the more people selling, that drives the price down. So that's really the thing. If you're going to move, best not to close your eyes to the situation. It is think it through, move early rather than move late.
Because it's not going to disappear, is it?
It's not going to go away. This is something that I think is with us now for at least 2 seasons and possibly more. I'm reading the headlines this morning. Commodities globally are still soft, and it's not just the sort of soft commodities like milk powder. It's oil, it's iron ore. It's still soft.
And that's the problem, isn't it? It's the world economy. It's not New Zealand.
New Zealand sooner or later lives, particularly in the dairy industry, lives in a global market. Certainly, we couldn't sustain the number of dairy cows we've got just off the population in New Zealand.
Brings me to TPP and the fact that dairying was the sticking point.
Well, there was a number of sticking points, but dairy was certainly one of them. And it was the Canadians and the Japanese who were doing the pushback. I think it was possibly the Americans, but they were hiding behind the others. I think you remember in the EU in the old days, the Brits always used to say, well, we should have a clean market in agricultural products, knowing that the French were never going to allow it. So they let the French run point on that one.
Right.
And so there's a bit of North America letting the Canadians and the Japanese run point on dairy. But we got the ISDS, or the sort of investor-state dispute settlement. We got Pharmac and we got dairy, and they were still sticking points. There was talk after the last round in Maui, I think it was. I think we were all having a holiday in Hawaii. We're having that conversation. It fell apart. There was still talk that it could be resurrected in August, but if not, it falls into various elections and the political difficulties, so it stalls.
How many people actually understand what TPP was all about?
Well, I think everybody understands it really was about trade and against the trade. But in all trade negotiations, it's sort of you and I are negotiating. You know, we're buying the second-hand car, I'm selling it, you're buying it, you want to pay the least amount, I want you to pay the most amount, and that's what these negotiations are. But now if we've got sort of 4 people buying the car because they're going to share the usage, and we've got 3 people selling the car because they're going to split the money, it all starts to get a bit more complicated. But in essence, it's a trade agreement. It's a trade agreement around the Pacific, and if we could get a sensible deal around the things that are important, and not get too sidelined about it's secret and there's something else, there's a sort of a paranoia underpinning it, I think there's a good outcome. But if the outcome can't be negotiated, particularly from the New Zealand interest, we should be prepared to walk away. Because if you're not prepared to walk away, however you're going to get a deal done that makes sense.
It's interesting you should say walk away. We've been talking about dairy farmers walking away, cropping farmers walking away.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's the issue of giving up. At some point, if you're not prepared to give up, it's hard to be realistic about the opportunity.
And it's a case of good money after bad, or bad money after whatever the same
It
is.
is. Bad money after good.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
and that's the thing. Can I see the light at the end of the tunnel? Is it a light or is it a train coming in the other direction? And so that trying to be as realistic as possible becomes the issue. So Gross is facing an idea that says, can I get a deal here? Can I get a deal that I can sell back home, or can't I? If I can't, I might as well say no here, because I'm going to carry the can when I get back home. Similarly, in terms of facing a debt mounting or the fact you've got negative cash flows, there comes a point when you say, I can't make this work. Best come to that conclusion early rather than coming to that conclusion late.
And that's cost you a lot more money.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Greece.
Greece, well, Greece seems to have fixed its world up. It's found a lot more money. 86 billion is the current conversation. And the grouping inside Europe, and I think I put a bit of a link up on Greece, the good documentary I came across, worth a watch if anybody's got 40 minutes, and talking about the Greek problem and the things that created that. But right now, the Germans apparently are being more and more isolated, and they are coming very close to a deal with only the Germans on the other side of the fence, the Finns and the new Eastern European countries who were very tough on Greece, and now say, no, these guys are playing the game, we now need to help them, we're all Europeans here. So it's looking like 86 billion over a 3-year period to fix it all up with even more debt.
Yeah, we come back to walking away, but it's interesting that Germany is now looking as though it's going to be isolated.
Well, Germany was leading the hardline pack on the sort of let's get rid of Greece sort of discussion, yeah. Or the Greeks will never sort of agree to what needs to be done, or they won't do it if they do agree, and they are increasingly isolated. It's just the German pushback. And when that happens, I think that we'll see a political deal. The political deal leads to the sort of financial one, and things will settle down for a while. But Greece still has, Europe still has that problem of balancing the nation-state problem. We'd never hear in the US about Arkansas's got a debt problem or California's got a debt problem. We might talk about in terms of state government, but not at federal level, because the transfers happen inside the US without anybody really seeing it happen.
John, thank you very much indeed for unravelling a very complicated situation.